and I'll start talking. I'm going to have the camera running. Questions? Anybody? have anybody logging in today, so I may wrap this up right now and I'll give it a few more minutes, I guess. But if no one else logs in, next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to just wrap this up. I've got my office hours. Office hours. It's just me. I'm going to lap. Is there a question? Anybody got a question today? I'm going to wrap it up in about 5 minutes. So if anybody has a question about anything that's going on in class, now is the time to let me know. Hi, Morgan. So you went to, did you go to the writing center? And did you make it? I guess that was the real question I had. 'Cause it seemed like you're having some trouble getting, oh, you did get in, that's right. Um, so when you think about evidence, in drawing conclusions, think about it in terms of, especially with the stories, like the stories, the examples from the stories are not hard evidence. It's not like, data or, research in the traditional sense. It's not academic research. Think of it in terms of you have to explain your interpretation of the text. So it's not just a matter of um, reading over the text and then giving facts. It's actually a matter of reading over the text, using examples from the text, and then explaining how those examples refer back to or support your thesis. And one way to do that is to just take a few key words in the thesis and refer back to them in each body paragraph as part of your topic sentence, but also in the explanation of the support. So that's, to me, that's like for this paper, that's the simplest way to go about it. The bigger conclusion, the most important conclusion is the like conclusion itself in the paper, the final paragraph. In that, if you go back to the rough draft Dropbox or assignment box, there's actually an explanation of what I want in each paragraph, and the explanation I have in the conclusion is hopefully pretty straightforward. But that's the one I'm really most interested in, is that making sure that you explain, like, what should I as the reader take from your experience of reading the story? What should I learn about the world? What did the author provide me as a reader, and me being you, of course, but what did the author give me in terms of new insights on the world? So, like, if it's the red convertible, maybe you gained more insight into what it's like to have post-traumatic stress disorder. Or maybe you learn more about what it's like to live with someone with post-traumatic stress disorder. Or maybe you learn more about um, the Vietnam War, living on a reservation, things like that. So so conclusions, there are many, but think about it in terms of um, the words on the page. What did they tell you? And then what do you want? How do you want your audience to interpret them? And how did you interpret them? More importantly, does that make sense? It is. Yeah, it's kind of how you interpret the story. You think about the conclusion like this: it's the big ideas that you want the audience to remember about the story. Um, and that's important because it's the last thing that the audience reads. So if I'm reading your paper, um, I'll probably forget the introduction first, and I'll remember the conclusion most, because in terms of reading, those are, like, the conclusion will probably end up standing out more. Think about a good movie. Like, if you go to a movie and it's really, really good, it probably is really good because it has a great ending. If it doesn't have a good ending, that ruins it. It's the same way with anything that you write. The ending is always what people remember. So in the ending, you want to make sure, like, think of the paper as being an attempt to convince someone of something, and you're trying to convince them that how you understood this story is the way it should be understood. Crazy. I mean, essentially that's what you're trying to do, or at least it's one way it should be understood. Um, and so your conclusion is your last chance to convince them that you're right. And it's also kind of the last chance for them to make an impression on them, so they remember what you had to say. So as a teacher, a really good conclusion means a lot, because that's the thing I remember most about the paper. If that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Usually if you have long paragraphs, like, and I don't know what your definition it is of a long paragraph, so I'll give you mine. For a college essay, half a page to three-quarters of a page is pretty typically the length of a paragraph. It depends some on what you're writing, but in a pretty classic essay like you're writing for this essay one, um, we look for paragraphs to be in that like 150 word, usually from like we say 80 to 120 words, but I'd say it's probably closer to 150. So, they take up a half a page. But if you're going, like, if you have a paragraph that's a page, that's not a paragraph. That's probably two or three paragraphs. So you probably have more than one point embedded in that paragraph. And so you might want to go through and like look and see, am I making 2 points here instead of one? It's a minor organization issue. But if you're at like half to three-quarters, you're probably on the right track as far as length. I don't know. I've read a lot of papers, so I mean a lot of papers, and it just seems like that's a developed paragraph is usually half a page to three-quarters of a page, but at the very least a quarter to a half a page. So that's just how it is. If we were writing narrative, it would be shorter, potentially quite a bit shorter, but we're not. So I'd expect it to be pretty long. Okay, so you're probably on the right track. I won't know until I read through the paper, but you're probably on the right track. If you're not, I'll give you audio feedback on that too. So, were you using a lot of examples from? You're the only one on, so I'm just going to talk directly to you. Were you? Did you use quite a few examples from the story in each paragraph? Okay, two is good. That's a good start. Um, yeah, that's probably about enough, depending on what story did you write about. I probably could remember, but it'd take me a second. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Um, yeah. So yeah, with I stand here ironing, really probably all of the first three. You can use partial quotes too. You don't really need to use full chunks of story. You can use a lot of partial quotes, but yeah, that's about what I would expect, at least two. How did the MLA go? Did you have any trouble with that? I know I made a really terrible, lame video, but I had to do something. I don't know if it was helpful or not, but that really, the video is just really the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to know. But did you have any trouble? That's the main thing with the MLA. Oh, okay, good. It seems like most students have used MLA, but once is usually the common answer. Like once or maybe twice, not many, not a lot of papers. So, um, we're gonna you and Susan Henderson's class as well. It would be English 099. Okay. We talk. Susan and I talk periodically. She's teaching I don't know if it's not. It's probably about 6 or 7 other students from your class. So she actually mentioned you because you've turned all the work and you've stayed in contact with her really well. So it's not, with 099, it's really important to stay in contact. But Susan's going to be working on some other elements of writing essays too. And we're going to try to coordinate a little bit this semester. It's hard. We didn't get enough prep time really to do it well, but we're going to try to coordinate. So you'll get better a lot faster because of that. Like your writing will really improve quickly. But just given like the work that you've done so far and how diligent you are, you could, yeah, you're going to be really, I think you're going to be really surprised at how much better your writing is just over the course of the next, what do we have left, 11 weeks? Because that's pretty much, that makes all the difference when students just do the work. But make sure too, if something's not clear, like if there's some part of maybe not MLA, but anything, make sure that you ask questions because, here I am in a live stream, at peak time. I know there's a lot of people logged into D2L and I'm not getting any, you're the only one asking me questions. So take advantage of that because, and like the same thing with papers. If you want me to do a line edit instead of just giving you audio feedback, let me know because I don't get a lot of requests for that kind of thing and I'm happy to do it. So do you have any other questions, Morgan? Oh, I'm glad you find it useful. It's kind of the easiest way for me to get directly in contact with you guys. And I don't really like to be a faceless thing on D2L. So you can look at me in all of my glory, I guess. Not that there's much of it going on right now, but since you're here, is there a time is there a better time for you to live stream? I usually use Sunday nights because according to my information, that's when most students log in. But is there a time where it's better for you to utilize the live stream since you're utilizing it? I think I have some pretty serious lag going on here. Okay, I think you mentioned that you worked. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, I'll keep doing it Sunday nights. It actually works pretty well for me too, but I can kind of be more flexible even. I'll try to have one during the week as well. But um, well, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So let me know. Otherwise, we'll call it a night, and then I'll be having another one soon. So I like to have. I will have one next week because it's the final next week. So we're gonna. This week I'll go through the rough drafts, and then next week I can answer questions on the final drafts. That's when things seem to come up most for many students. So there will probably be another live stream next Sunday night. Great, glad I could do that. All right, well, have a great week. And I hope your appointment tomorrow goes well in the writing center, or I'm sorry, the writing studio. And I guess that's it. Take care.